2020, the year that has really changed the world. It is thanks to technology that we are able to join the cyber polygon entirely remotely. This training is another step in creating a trusted digital environment and fostering open dialogue to discuss even the most challenging cybersecurity issues. Nobody can fight these phenomena, which are only going to increase in the next couple of years in this dynamic technological environment. As this world grows in force, and this happens throughout the world, it's just a statement of the obvious. You need to protect people properly.
Gas stations along the U.S. East Coast are beginning to run out of fuel as North America's biggest petroleum pipeline races to recover from the cyber attack that has kept it shut since late Friday. Colonial Pipeline says it's manually operating a segment of the pipeline and now expects to substantially restore all service by the weekend.
FBI released details of the attack so others can take steps to prevent being infected. My administration takes issue takes this very seriously.
How's it going, everyone? It is now it is now Thursday morning, technically, just barely. May 13th, which is Thursday morning here on the west coast of the United States. And I pray you are doing well, wherever you may be in the world. Obviously, there's a lot going on right now. I started this video just intending to talk about the Cyber Polygon exercise that is sponsored by the World Economic Forum and Interpol. That is coming up in June? Is it June or July? And I guess I was under the hopeful delusion that we wouldn't see any of these more prominent cyber attacks until then, as the drill perhaps went live or something. But as you already know, we're coming up on a week into the ramifications of this cyber attack on the Colonial Pipeline. And I do sincerely hope that they get that up and running very, very soon, as I don't think anybody needs an explanation as to why this whole situation could get very dire very quickly if they don't get this supply chain issue resolved. And of course it ties into so many things, not just the cyber terror threat narrative, which has been pushed for many, many years, not just by the World Economic Forum, but they have been talking about it for a long, long time, and here they are. Right on schedule. And the timing of everything, of course, is very noteworthy, where you have this going on domestically in the United States right at the same time as things are just popping off over in Jerusalem, and already they're talking about a full-blown escalation or a full-blown war, which, of course, it's not much of a war when it's the IDF versus rockets and stones. But, yeah. Wars and rumors of wars all over the place. And, but the end is yet to come. Amen. So we have those two very pressing and immediate situations changing by the hour. And again, hopefully we don't see a major escalation in Israel, but it seems like it's kind of already past that point. The fact that they already had soldiers in the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and as if the people in there were capable of causing some sort of disturbance or threat. But obviously that is an incredibly provocatory move on the part of the Israeli government, while at the same time we have escalating tensions on the other side of the world with China and Taiwan and the whole South China Sea, and the rhetoric and the war gaming and saber rattling is getting increasingly loud over there as well. But then on top of everything, we have all these supply chain / shortage issues, which hopefully people by now can see is, of course, also by design, and just kind of happens to fit into all of these agendas in so many ways. And so that's kind of more of the long-term question that still has me a little bit puzzled, I admit. And it's probably a good idea to not get too caught up in speculating and pontificating, because there are so many factors and so many things that can change at a moment's notice. But the supply chain issue, particularly with the semiconductor shortage, this whole chip shortage issue that's affecting the auto industry, most notably right now, and they're already saying that 2022, 2023, before that is going to be resolved one way or another, in terms of plants and all that. But that does also tie back into the Taiwan issue, as the third largest producer of semiconductor chips is in Taiwan. But in terms of all the shortages, whether it's lumber, which of course affects the whole housing market and construction industries, the microchip shortage, which affects the auto industries and all the tech companies, everything. Part of me kind of wonders that if a certain function of all these shortages is that it also kind of serves to mask the inflation, I think, that is going on. If you can provide these sort of manufactured scenarios disrupting the whole supply versus demand, namely the supply, which of course drives up prices, and rendering the spending power of the individual, weaker. I mean, all these factors kind of just all pour into the same broad umbrella of, what they used to call asymmetrical warfare, right? Economic warfare. And at this point, hopefully more people are able to see how kind of the sick genius, right, of, we can have cyber attacks and blame it on, Russian hackers or terrorists from that part of the world, or you can turn around and blame things on the CCP and look at it through that lens, depending on which political framework a person is still clinging to. There's always somebody to point the finger at and to just create a quagmire of information mixed with disinformation. And, we got Anthony Fauci straight up lying through his teeth to the world about things like gain-of-function research and his involvement with the Wuhan Institute and all this stuff, all coming out now. And yet, if a third of this country can't put gas in their cars for too many days in a row, it's not going to take very long to where that is the only thing people in this country are thinking about. And so overall, it's kind of made me stop and go, well, if they really are serious about a full-blown World War III hot war type of thing, then, are you really going to do that after your big reset or before? Part of me has a hard time even conceiving how that kind of full-blown war would really work. It certainly wouldn't happen in the way it did in World War II, where all the economies and production and supply chains and everything else of all the countries involved are all intertwined and interrelated and interdependent. And then if there really is a chip shortage, I don't know, I'm not really buying this idea that, they just anticipated a downturn, a major slowdown in the demand for chips because of the lockdown, when, of course, they had the whole, protocol and response mapped out ahead of time. It's not like they didn't know there would be a massive surge in the use of technology. Were people really buying that many new devices and new tablets and things to use that many more semiconductors? I don't know. So it's hard to even know if there really is a shortage, because that would seem to put a bit of a kink in the broader agenda to, put everyone in electric cars and in homes where everything is a smart device is connected to the Internet of Everything and blah, blah, blah. So I kind of have a hard time believing that they somehow allowed the giant technocratic panopticon to not have enough semiconductors to run it all. So either A, it's just a concocted disruption where there is no shortage, and only certain industries are going to be denied. I mean, if Tesla, I guess we'll see very soon. I mean, if this is really, Tesla just built this giant mega factory in Shanghai. So, they probably use more microchips than anybody. So wouldn't their stock be going down, and wouldn't there be major concern for the solvency of your company if there's going to be a 2-year shortage of silicon? I mean, you can already find news reports referring to it as the chip wars. So, very strange. So I don't know, what do you guys think? It's kind of hard to focus on the abstract questions at the moment. My heart's just kind of heavy for, whether it's the people in Jerusalem and Gaza, in any number of states on the East Coast, for the people of Taiwan, the people of Hong Kong, the UK, every country. I mean, it's definitely getting real. And then, of course, the other dimension to everything going on in Israel right now is that, of course, they are spearheading the worldwide effort to force everyone to get their little society passports. And then you're mixing all that outrage and inhumanity, tyrannical totalitarianism, on top of the tyrannical human rights violations that have been going on for years and years and years in the name of the Zionist dream. So, wars and rumors of wars, man. And whether it's the Middle East crisis, or the colonial pipeline / gas shortage, or the Chinese side, in all three of them, you can hear this narrative being increasingly kicked around, focusing on, Biden's mental capacity, his age, his senility, and so on. Which again just provides yet another kind of extremely reductionist, well, it's not even that, just a BS explanation for at least a certain number of people who can look at that and say, well, yeah, he's not fit, he's not competent, he's not even all there, he can't even read the teleprompter, so yeah, how is he going to deal responsibly with XYZ? All these different crises that are now, he's being tested, right? This is the big narrative. Biden's being tested, which at the end of the day is a complete waste of time, waste of debate. And so, yeah, people want to get all fired up and focused on him and how he's sold out to China and that level of thinking. Well, then you're still stuck with the problem of Trump being sold out to the Zionist oppressors. But in the end, those are all just superficial facades. Will keep people somehow bought into the idea that it's not just all being controlled and planned and scripted. Even though it gets harder and harder all the time to understand how people don't see that it absolutely is when they're sitting, Tony Blair and Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates. Oh yeah, the cyber threat is coming. Oh, it's also absurd. I mean, truthers have been saying this for years, and yet they have this phrase in their actual promo video. World Economic Forum and Polygon. Global problems require global solutions. So I don't know how anybody could deny that this is the common denominator through every one of these crises and every one of these, elite funded foundations and institutes and everything else, that there is no logical nationalist agenda, whether you're looking at it from the medical crisis arena, economic. It's a war. We are in a war, and the war is against us and the truth of God and his true Messiah.
The word that Isaiah the son of Amos saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. O house of Jacob, come ye, and let us walk in the light of the Lord. Therefore thou hast forsaken thy people, the house of Jacob, because they be replenished from the east, and are soothsayers like the Philistines, and they please themselves in the children of strangers. Their land also is full of silver and gold, neither is there any end of their treasures. Their land is also full of horses, neither is there any end of their chariots. Their land also is full of idols. They worship the work of their own hands, that which their own fingers have made. And the mean man boweth down, and the great man humbleth himself. Therefore forgive them not. Enter into the rock, and hide thee in the dust, for fear of the Lord, and for the glory of his majesty. The lofty looks of men shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of men shall be bowed down, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. For the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon every one that is proud and lofty, and upon every one that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low. And upon all the cedars of Lebanon that are high and lifted up, and upon all the oaks of Bashan, and upon all the high mountains, and upon all the hills that are lifted up, and upon every high tower, and upon every fenced wall, and upon all the ships of Tarshish, and upon all pleasant pictures. And the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of men shall be made low, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. And the idols he shall utterly abolish, and they shall go into the holes of the rocks, and into the caves of the earth, for fear of the Lord, and for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. In that day a man shall cast his idols of silver, and his idols of gold, which they made each one for himself to worship, to the moles and to the bats, to go into the clefts of the rocks, and into the tops of the ragged rocks, for fear of the Lord, and for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. Cease ye from man, whose breath is in his nostrils, for wherein is he to be accounted of?